Hey, what's happening? I can't get anything.
All right. So I was saying, if you, I mean, the other thing that we have to find here are the focus. Yeah, we first have to find the focus, the first focus and the second focus. So I was saying to find the focus, um, you just have to add the value of C to the centers. Yeah, so if we're finding the value of the focus, I mean the coordinates of the focus in the Y, you simply just get the Y coordinate, you add it to C, and then you also get the Y coordinate, subtract it from C, then you get your focus in the Y. So you're going to have, so I was saying I'll approximate my focus to be there, my 2 root 2. So 2 root 2, this is just the same as 4 point something, approximately 4 point something, or 4 close to 5. So you say this is 1, 2, 3, 4. So let me even just put it somewhere there. Okay. So I'll approximate my focus to be somewhere there. So this is going to be 0, 2 root 6. Yeah, I'm sure you're able to see what I've written. This is 0, 2 root 6. And then same applies to the other focus. So this one I'll call it my F1. Then F2 will be down here, 1, 2, 3, 4. So 4 point something, it will be somewhere there. This will also be 0, negative 2 root 6. Yeah, so this one down here is 0, negative 2 root 6, 2 root 6, which is here. Yeah, so that is how you describe the, what is the ellipse. Then from there we can also find the eccentricity. So I said eccentricity is just given by C over A. So eccentricity is equal to, our C is just 2 root 6. And then our A is simply 7. So this is our eccentricity. So this is our eccentricity. I think we have not forgotten anything. This is how you describe the ellipse. Do we have questions here? All right, so those struggling with network, don't worry. I'm going to post the recorded sessions in the same group. Okay, so do you have questions on this one before we proceed to the next one? This one. Okay, so it seems like we don't have any questions. So we have this one. So like I said on the previous question, I said it's not always that you're going to be asked direct questions. So sometimes you might have set a question like this one. So I forgot to tell you another point. You need to understand that when you're dealing with this part should always be 1. This part should always be 1. And then apart from that, X and Y should not have any coefficient. Yeah, so those are the two things that you need to know. This part should always be 1, and then X and Y should not have any coefficients. So if you have something like this, where X has a coefficient, even Y has a coefficient there, make sure that you find the means by which you're going to get rid of this. And then this part should always be a 1. So how am I going to do that? So we simply just divide everything by 54 so that we make this part 1. So I'm going to divide this by 54. I'll also divide this by 54. I'll also divide this by 54. So 6 divided by 54, I'll get something like, so this will be x squared over, so x squared over 6 into 54. This should be 9, I think so. And this is 9. And then 3 into 54, it should give you something like 18, I think so. Yeah, so this side you get 1. So the biggest number is always A. So you identify your A, So our a in this case will be 18. Sorry, our a squared is going to be 18. So meaning our a is just going to be the square root of 18. Our b will be 9. Oh, sorry, our b squared will be 9, meaning our b will just be 3. So apart from this, what else are we supposed to find? The center. So the center is just 0, 0, even this one. So the center is just 0, 0. Okay, the center will be 0, 0. And then we also find the value of c. So the value of c, we said c squared is given by a squared minus b squared. So c will now just be equal to our a squared, said is 18 minus our b squared is 9. Okay, our c squared is 9. Oh, sorry, our b squared is 9. So c squared is given by that. So 18 minus 9 gives us 9. So meaning the value of c will just be 3. Because we know that c squared will be equal to 9. Then the square root of 9 will give us 3. And then from there, we can now identify, does this ellipse lie in the x or y? So according to the value of a here, the value of a is under y. I mean, a is under y. So meaning this ellipse is expected to come out like this. But since this ellipse has its center at 0, 0, I don't think this can be a problem for us to sketch. It's straightforward. Okay, let me just do the sketch first. So for this one, again, it's similar to the one that we're just from doing. So we know that our a is the root of 18. And the root of 18 is just 4 point something. So 4 point something, so you can approximate this to be, we'll say 1, 2, 3, 4. So 4 point something can be somewhere there. Then this side 1, 2, 3, 4. So 4 point something can be somewhere there. This is the root of 18. So here we have the root of 18. Even there we have the root of 18. Then we also put the values of b, which is 3. We have 1, 2, 3 here. 1, 2, 3, even there. So we have -3. This one is also supposed to be negative. And then we do the sketching. Okay, it's going to be like that. Okay, let me just redraw it. Okay. Okay. Okay, but I'm sure you know how to sketch. You can all sketch. Just make sure that you touch the 4 points. Yeah, to be something like that. And then from there, we can find the focus. So the first focus will be found by adding 3 to the center, and the second one will be found by subtracting 3 from the center. So when we add 3 to the center, our F1 will just be there. And then our F2 will be somewhere there. When you subtract 3 from the center, so the other focus, the second focus will be -3, will be at -3. Yeah. So in case they want you to show the coordinates, our V1 will just be 0, √18, which is this point here. And then our V2 will be 0, -√18. And then our M1, which is our minor axis, We can call this M1, then we'll call this M2. So our M1 will be 0. Sorry, this will be negative 3, 0, negative 3, 0. Then our M2 will be 3, 0. And then from there, we also make sure that we write the coordinates of the focus. F1 is equal to 0, 3, and then F2 will be 0, negative 3. Okay, so this is how you describe the ellipse. So let's look at a bit. Let's look at a question that is a bit more challenging than this one. So I don't know if you have questions before we proceed. Okay, let's proceed. So the other question we have is this one. She's saying find the center, the vertices, the focus of the ellipse, that ellipse there. So like I said, questions will not just come straight. You first have to use the completing the square method to get to your answer. To get to the normal function, the function that you need to describe. So let's get this question there. So we have 4x squared, then we have plus 9y squared, we have minus 8x, then we have plus 36y, then we have plus 4 is equal to 0. So we complete the square of this. So first thing, you pair the ones with x, and then you also pair the ones with y. So we're going to have 4x squared, then you have minus 8x. Let me just write this properly. Okay, so we have 4x squared minus 8x, and then you also have plus 9y squared, then plus 36y, then this is equal to negative 4. Okay, so from there we can now complete the square of this part and this other part. So first of all, we factorize the 4. So when we factor out the 4, we'll have something like this. We're going to have 4 open brackets, then you have x squared minus 2x. Then here we also factor out 9. So we're going to have plus 9 open brackets. We have y squared plus 4y. Then we have everything equal to negative 4. So from there, we can now complete the square of this part. So we're going to have 4, then we have x squared. Half of negative 2 is negative 1. So we're going to say plus negative 1 squared minus negative 1 squared, then minus 2x, then in brackets. Then even on this other part, you do the same thing. So we're going to say plus 9 open brackets. Then we're going to have y squared, and then half of positive 4 is positive 2. So we say plus 2 squared minus 2 squared, then plus 4y is equal to negative 4. So from there, we can now complete the square of this part. So we're going to have 4 this side. Then from there, we have this part this part will become x minus 1 and then squared, then minus -1 squared will give us +1. We close the brackets. We move on to this other part. So we're going to have 9 outside. Then from there, we have y, and then y plus 2 in brackets. And then 2 squared, so say -2 squared will give us 4. Then we close the brackets. This is equal to -4. So from there, we can now multiply this 4 times negative, or 4 times, we open the brackets. 4 times this part there, we're going to have 4, then open brackets, x minus 1 squared, and then 4 times -1, we get -4. So even this part we do the same. 9 times that, we're going to have plus 9, open brackets, y plus 2 squared. Then 9 times -4, we get -36. So -36 is equal to -4. So this part, when you simplify it further, we'll have something like this squared. So we have something like this squared. So we have -4. When you add -4 and -36, you're going to get -40. So let me first write this part here. So I'm going to say 9, then open brackets, you have y plus 2, close brackets, squared. Then this will give us -40. When you add -4 and -36, then this is equal to -4. So from there, we're going to have something like this. I forgot to write the square there. Then plus 9. Then we have y plus 2. Then this is squared. When you take this -40 to the other side of the equal sign, you're going to have -4 plus 40. Then we finish up this. This will give us x minus 1 squared. Then this other part will give us 9, open brackets. This will be y plus 2, and then squared. This will give us 36. So now, remember what I told you, the general formula for the ellipse. This part should always be 1, and then x should not have any coefficient, even y should not have any coefficient. So what do we do to get rid of these coefficients and this 36? I'm going to divide everything by 36 because I know to say 4 can go into 36, even 9 can go into 36. So when I divide everything by 36, when I divide this part by 36, this part also by 36, even this part by 36, I'm going to have my answer to be something like this. Let me just demarcate here. So my answer will be, so when I say 4 divided by 36 there, 4 into 4 will give me 1, then 4 into 36 will give me 9. So I'm going to have something like this, x minus 1, then squared over 9. And then in between here, I'm going to have plus, then open brackets, y plus 2, then everything over 9 into 9, 1, 9 into 36. This will give me 4. Then this is equal to 1. Let me just write it properly. Okay. So this will be equal to 1. Okay. I'm going to write 1. Okay, 1. Yeah, so for those who are copying, make sure that you do it fast. I'm about to erase this because we're done simplifying the expression. Yeah, so we're done simplifying the expression. What we just need is to sketch this this same ellipse. We sketch it. So maybe let me just erase the top part. Okay. So that is how you do it. So make sure that if you have forgotten how to do or how to use completing the square method, make sure that you revisit that part, because you'll be using it almost every day when you're doing conic sections. And it's one of the questions that is normally brought on the exam. They can't give you a straightforward question on the exam. They'll give you something that you need first to complete. Yeah, to complete the square, and then after doing that, then you sketch the same geometry that you found. So like I said, in between here, there's always supposed to be a plus. So here, there's always supposed to be a plus. If you find a minus here, that's a hyperbola. Yeah, if there's a minus, it's an hyperbola, and then it's a hyperbola if there's a minus, and then if there's a plus, it's an ellipse. Yeah. Okay, so let's now describe this ellipse. So first of all, you need to identify whether it's in the X or it's in the Y. So how do you know if it's in the X or in the Y? You look at the value of A. So the value of A, we said A is always greater than B. So in this case, the number which is greater than the other is 9. 9 is greater than 4. So meaning our A squared, okay. So meaning our A squared is equal to 9, and then our B squared is also equal to 4. So meaning our A is equal to 3, our B is equal to 2. So after finding A and B, since A is under X, it means that this ellipse is in the X. So meaning we expect something to come out like this. We expect it to come out like that. Yeah, it should be in the X. All right, so after finding the value of A and B, we can now find C. So we said C squared is given by A squared minus B squared. So our C squared will now be equal to, our A squared is 9 minus, so our A squared is 9 minus, our B squared is 4. Yeah, our B squared is 4. So meaning the value of C is just the square root of what? 5. So from there, we now begin to sketch. Yeah, so we can now sketch after doing that, or if you want, you can even find the eccentricity in advance. Eccentricity is just given by C over A. So if you want, you can find it in advance. And then on all the previous questions that I've been solving, I've been forgetting one thing, to find the length of the minor and the major axis. Yeah, so on this one, I'm going to do it. Yeah, so every time you're describing the ellipse, you need to also include the length of the minor and the major axis. So the length of the minor axis is given by 2b, and then the length of the major axis is given by 2a. So on this one, we said eccentricity is given by C over A. So our C, so we say E is equal to, our C is the root of 5. Okay, then everything over, so our C is the root of 5. Okay, the root of 5, and then everything over A. My A is 3. And then let's now sketch. So we know that it's going to be in the X. So we expect our X axis to be longer than the Y. So let us locate the center. The center of this ellipse will be, when we equate X minus 1 to 0 there, say X minus 1 is equal to 0. The value of X becomes 1. Then when we equate Y plus 2 to 0, the value of Y becomes -2. So the center will therefore be equal to 1 comma negative 2. So 1, if I say my 1 is somewhere there, then 1, 2. So I'll say my negative 2 is somewhere there. So this is going to be my center. So let us now find the vertices. So the vertices, so when you add 3 to the value of x, so when you add 3 to 1, we're going to get 4. So in other words, if you don't want to be using the word add or subtract, you just move 3 steps in the x, we move 3 steps in the x, since a is under x in this case. So we move 3 steps in the x, go in this side. So we said our center is somewhere there. So move 3 steps, go in this side. 1, 2, 3. So we have, so if this is 1, this would be 2, 3, 4. So this would be 4. So we have 1 point there. Then we move 3 steps going to the left. Have 1, 2, and then 3. So we have negative 2 there. So I have another point somewhere there. So the first point we had was there. Then the other point we have is there. Then let us also move 2 steps in the minor axis. So I'm moving 2 steps going up, 2 steps going down. So I'm going to have something like 1. Oh, sorry, the center is somewhere there. So we move 2 steps going up. So I'm going to move 1, 2. So 1 point will be there. The other point will be, we move 1, 2 steps there. So we're going to have another point there. So from there now we can sketch the ellipse. So we join the 4 points. Uh-oh. That's going to be like this. There's a point somewhere there. Okay. So that is how you do the sketching. Yeah, so that is how you do the sketching. So if you want to, or you also need to put the focus. So see, so I'm going to approximate my root of 5 to be somewhere there. Even this side, I'll approximate it to be somewhere there. So you can put your F1. So if this is your V1, this will be your V2, then M1, then M2, then you also have F1 there, then you also get your F2 somewhere there. But what is the most important thing you need to write here are the coordinates of the vertices, so that even if here they are not clear, but at least you can write them somewhere where the marker should say that, okay, this person knew what he was doing. So we can write our V1 there. So V1, so V1 will just be, this will be X, the value of X is, so in the X axis, the value of Y is constant. And then in the Y axis, the value of Y, the value of X is constant. So in the X, the value of Y is constant. So X will be 4. So V1 X will be 4, comma, negative 1. Then V2, oh, sorry, negative 2, not negative 1. We have negative 2 here. Then V2, you also copy these coordinates there, which will be negative 2, comma, negative 2. Yeah, negative 2, comma, negative 2. And then you also write your M1, you write your M2, you also write your F1, you also write your F2, and then the length of the major axis. The length of the major axis, I told you to say this one is given by 2a. So the value of a there is 3. So the length of the major axis will just be 2 times 3, which will give you 6. The length of the minor axis will give you, this one you find it using this one 2b. So this one is minor, this one is major. Yeah. So 2b, which is just 2 times 2 there, which will give you 4. This is how you describe the ellipse. So I did this one very fast because I wanted us to finish the other 2 examples remaining down. Okay, so let's look at the other 2 simple examples. I don't know if you guys have a question on this one. I don't know if you have a question on this one. If you don't have, let's move on. Okay, so this is the other question. They're asking us to say, find the standard form of the equation of the ellipse with the center 4, -2, and then the focus is also given. So the center has been given to be this, and then the focus, we have F1 there and F2 there. We also have the length of the minor axis to be 10. So the length of the minor axis is 10, but we know that the length of the minor axis is given by 2b. So meaning the value of b here has been found. B will just be equal to 10 divided by 2. So the value of b is equal to 5, meaning our b squared will be 25. So out of the whole equation, they're asking us to find the standard form of this equation. So our b squared has been found. So just remaining with the center. Yeah, so given these 2 focus, how can we find the center? So the center can be found by just finding the midpoint of the 2 focuses that you've been given. When you find the midpoint, oh, the center has been given here. So there's no need of us doing that. I thought we were not given. So if you've not been given the center, you just find the midpoint of the focus. Yeah, so the center has been given. So you have something like this. And then you also need to identify whether this given expression is in the X or in the Y. So let's say this is X, then the center is this one. We have -4, then squared, then plus, so over. I'll not write A or B there first. We need to know whether it's in the X or in the Y. So then we also have Y, Y plus 2, then squared. We know that this side is always supposed to be 1. So now let's identify where we should put the value of A and where we should put the value of B. So in this case, when you look at the value of X, the value of X is constant, meaning this this ellipse is in the Y. Remember what I said? I said X is constant in the Y, and then Y is constant in the X. So in this case, the value of X is constant, meaning the ellipse is in the Y. So the value of A is going to be under Y. So B, we can even put B in advance here. So our B will be there. And then our A, how to find A? Because we've been given B here. Then we also need to find C. How do you find C? So to find C, you just subtract this, because we know to say C. Okay, let me just do a simple sketch here. So we know to say if you have if you have the ellipse like that, C is just if this is the center of this ellipse, and then this is F1, and then this is also F2. And then you have F1 there. So C is just the distance from this point to that point, or from that point to that point. So C is the distance from the focus to the center. Yeah. So the distance from the focus to the center is the one that we call C. So if we've been given the focus, which is this one, and the center, we can easily find C. How do you do that? By simply just subtracting. So you say the focus minus the center. So 1 minus -2. When we say 1 minus -2, the answer will just give us 3. So the value of C is just 3. So now to find the value of A, we know that there's this formula which we use to find C, which is C squared is equal to A squared minus B squared. So we just make A squared the subject, So to find a squared, we say c squared plus b squared. So a squared will now just be equal to, our c squared will just be, so if c is equal to 3, c squared will be 9. So c squared is 9, and then plus b squared is 25. So we write our 25 there. So meaning our a squared will just be equal to 25 plus 9, which gives us 34. So our a squared is now just going to be equal to 34. So this is how we find the standard form of the equation given the center and the two focus. So we are in the last 1 minute. I don't know if you guys have a question. I'm sure the last question I can just give you as an exercise. Is the last example there. So I don't know if you guys have a question or if you guys have any questions. So if you don't have questions, see you next time when we meet for mathematics. I'll send an exercise immediately after this lesson. Then you have to submit it tomorrow. See you next time. We'll have physics tomorrow.